Hey everyone, it is time for a layout update. I haven't done an update on the layout here in a bit. Been mostly doing operation sessions, having fun with the layout, but there's been a lot that I've worked on, just little things here or there over the past couple months that I wanted to give some updates on real quick here. So first is scenery. Just been working on improving the scenery overall, the layout. When I built this, for all the scenery, the ground cover, I painted it brown, added some dirt, and then static grass the entire thing with like 3 millimeter grass roughly in a couple different shades. And it's kind of just sat that way the whole time just to get something down, because it's better for it to exist in some state than just be nothing there at all. But now I've actually spent some time and I'm working a little bit more on scenery and trying to get things a little bit more realistic here. So grass tufts, I'm starting to build it up. I mean, these whole areas that are just kind of fields over here, they'll eventually be really overgrown with weeds and bushes and other things like that. So I'm working on that, just getting a mixture of trees, kind of like the lower lying ones like this, doing tufts. And again, this is just now 7 mil. I need to get some more 12 mil so I can build up on top of that and kind of really get the overgrownness look of this area, which is pretty typical of the prototype in this part of Detroit where these industries are located at. So that's been ongoing. I've got to build some more trees too. With the layout though, the way it's set up, I need to place the trees strategically because I need to be able to get back to the layout with the chopstick to uncouple cars and things like that. So I need to be careful that there's nothing really on the front of the layout here. This layout's pretty high off the ground, roughly about 4 feet or so. I did that on purpose just because it's a better eye level for me visually when operating, but it makes it a little bit harder to reach to the back of the layout and necessary when to get things. So I just got to be careful where I place the scenery so I'm not breaking stuff as I'm going. Fences too. So this fence over here that I've got around PVS Chemical, it goes all the way around. This one I finally painted. I painted it silver. I haven't done any weathering to it yet, but I just kind of got it looking so it's not just gray plastic. So this fence I 3D printed. I just made it a really simple, just kind of gray structure, about 8 inches long or so, and then I filled it with the whatever the fabric material is called that everyone uses to make fence, and it looks okay. Again, better than nothing. I plan to eventually replace it, but for now it serves the need of just having a fence around that industry. So I'm not super happy with how it turned out. I'll probably get a better, there's some really good commercially made fences out there you can get that are like laser etched and stuff that look really good. But for now it's okay. I might redo these gates. These gates I screwed up when I measured them, and if these two were to pretend to be closed, which they don't move, they wouldn't cover that whole area tracks. They need to be longer. So I might redo those just for the time being, because it's one of those little details that bugs me. But that's just on the to-do list of things to do. This fence over here is the one I built out of actually wired or soldered metal wire together. And I think these look much better. Plus I had a little bit of barbed wire at the top. But these just take so long to build. I mean, I've got one there, I've got another little one back there, and another little one here in the area I'll use once I get some backdrop scenery. On the backdrop there, I'll put those in place. They look way better than what this did. But, I mean, this took me like 20 minutes to build this entire thing. A little bit longer to paint it. So even though it was super simple to build, just the detail of it isn't fantastic. So on the list of things to work on. So what else? My buildings. I did a video on those a while ago. I got them built, the backdrop buildings. They're still not painted. The reason I haven't painted them is because it's cold outside. And I really need to paint these, airbrush these outside in the garage where I've got good ventilation. I've actually got 2 paint booths here in the basement that I vent outside. But for structures this big, I mean, these things are over 2 feet long. It's tight in there to paint, and it's still a lot of fumes. I'm still wearing a respirator, and they don't work as well as I'd like to exhaust all the fumes out of the basement for those things. So now that it's getting warmer, I'll be able to move that stuff out the garage and wear a respirator out there and have a lot more. It'll just be easier to paint them, I guess, that way. So that's coming up on the to-do list, along with this building too. This building's been here forever, still never painted it either. But signal bridge. So I got my signal bridge in place. Did a video on this a while ago. This was an old kit. I forget the make of it. It's kind of an older style bridge, but I know in the 90s CSX still had a lot of this style of bridge that existed in place, modernized with the more modern target lights and stuff like that. So I kind of detailed this one up a little bit. It's all LEDs too. I painted it black. The LEDs are covered. I got to pull the little piece of tape I have masking those off in there, but I haven't yet because I'm still torn if I actually want to paint this silver or leave it black. Both colors existed on CSX at the time. I've got picture evidence of it. I think silver would probably look cooler. I don't know. I'm undecided on that. So still something I'm thinking about. The placement of it too, initially I had planned to place it right here before the switches, you see, because I got the crossover there between the two mains. And I wanted it right about here before the switches. The problem is the placement of that where it sits. It's kind of in an area where I'll be reaching over a lot to get to the back of the layout, and I was just worried I'm going to break it. So I moved it down right before this siding merges back into the main here. So you still got all 3 tracks on those signals. It's over the switch, which is kind of weird. Typically you wouldn't see that in real world, but I did it just because I know I'm eventually going to break that. And having it pushed a little bit further down this way, I'm not going to hit it. I know I won't. I'll just make it safer, so hopefully I don't damage it. But 6611, the CSX GP40, did a video on that. It's been running really, really well after I made some more adjustments to the CVs on it. This one required a lot more tweaking than I expected, but last couple videos I did on it, I've been really happy with how it performs. Still not as good as I think my Proto 2000s. My older Proto 2000s that I love, those guys, they run so smooth, especially for being a almost 25-year-old locomotive at this point. But I've been really happy with this Atlas. It's a Atlas Silver series that I added the Tsunami 2 to. It's been a really, really good runner. So some new rolling stock I can talk about real quick. So I've got this chassis system gondola. This is a scale trains with B&O markings on it. I talked about in a previous video about possibly expanding the layout out a little bit, and I'll talk about that here more shortly. So I've been getting some gondolas to my fleet. Another chassis system car, C&O. This is an older, it's either an Athearn or a Roundhouse, I can't remember. You can tell because it's got the injection molding little point on the top there. But still decently detailed car. You know, I had my micro-engineering metal wheels to it and KD couplers, metal KD couplers, and works really well. I've actually got 2 of these now. They're different numbers, luckily. This one actually might be the wrong one. Maybe it's the other one I got. I can't remember. But anyway, then I got this little CSX 40-foot high cube. So this is either an Athearn or a Roundhouse again. Both of them made these 40-foot high cubes back in the day. I'm having a hard time believing if this was actually a real car that existed in the railroads. I love 40-foot boxcars on a switching layout because they're so small. They don't take up a lot of space, and operationally they're very effective for doing the layout. And they still look modern enough. I joke modern because these things were mostly used in the 60s and 70s. By pretty much the 80s, they're all non-existent at that point. So, you know, prototypically, it's not real. And again, I've never found any. I haven't done an exhaustive search yet, but I haven't found any real pictures of this car with that reporting mark and number. So I don't know. If someone knows if this is actually a real car that existed, I'd be surprised, to say the least. But a couple more cars too. Picked this up at the train show. Grand Trunk, another gondola, which I really like. And then I got another one of these ENC Shops CSX Big Blue High Cube paper box cars. I love these cars. I've already got one. Got that one there that I've put on the layout quite a bit. So I picked up another one. Different number too, luckily. And this was only like 10 bucks. Again, ENC Shops. They're not around anymore. This was a company that went under, I don't know, quite some time. There's actually a weird history of this company. It was a bunch of different companies. But anyway, I also saw that Walters re-released this car. So you can buy new ones of this now from Walters as well, which look pretty good. But again, this one was only like 10 bucks instead of 30. So, and once put together, again, it's a pretty detailed car, so I'm happy with it. And then another gondola. So I got this one because it's got Co-Rail reporting marks on it. So Co-Rail was a short line here in Michigan that ran. It was actually a freight service railroad. It ran on the old, I think it was old Grand Trunk abandoned line. I can't remember. I might have that wrong. But the rail line is actually just like a quarter mile behind my house. It no longer exists. It's a bike path now, which sucks. I wish the railroad was still there. For years, they ran a dinner train there too, where they'd run. They had, I forget how many passenger cars with a couple F units. They would pull out a couple different switchers sometimes too. It was really popular for a long time. It was right around the time, I think it was 2008. It's about the same time I moved into this house out here that railroad went under, unfortunately, and everything else was sold off or scrapped, which sucks. But anyway, I'm a big Co-Rail fan, so anytime I see anything with Co-Rail, I usually try to grab it up. But anyway, that's kind of the update for everything I've been working on the layout. I got my switches labeled. I think I finally talked about that too, so it makes it a little bit easier to figure out which is which, especially when I'm doing an operation. It gets kind of confusing at times. Replaced some of these switches too, because I used cheap ones and they were kind of acting up, so I put good, expensive switches in there to get everything working well. And then railroad expansion. So I talked about this in my what would I do different video, I think, and I am going to make an extension to the layout. I'm going to add 4 feet off the end this way. And then actually, a couple of you had commented as well, I'm going to add a foot off this side as well, because that will allow me to use this runaround here, at least for a locomotive, and then be able to come back on it, which was kind of a useless portion of the layout that I had there. I've got the back runaround, which is small. This will allow me to use the front runaround as well, which will make things a little bit more interesting operationally. And then the expansion over here that I'm going to add in will be the same table depth, go 4 feet, basically, as long as I've got my little temporary extension right here. And then I'm going to have 2 industries here. What they are yet to be determined. One will probably service gondolas, as I mentioned before. The other one will probably be something automotive related. But that'll solve a lot of the problems, because we'll be able to have a grade crossing right here that goes straight back. And then a lot more scenery, and like I said, the 2 industries over here on this part of the table. But anyway, that's it for now, I think. It's all the little stuff I've been working on. So that's it. Thank you all for watching.